Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crazy Dad's Garage and another Crazy Dad's Rat Rod project. So, picked up, I've had this cowl that I pulled out of the desert a while back, and I found that rear section of a Phaeton body. And actually, it probably wasn't a Phaeton, it's probably a sedan actually. But brought it home from the desert the other day, and I'm going to attempt to make myself a body out of the two of these. I'll have to build a section to go in there, but first item of business is to get this straightened up and get the rust repaired on this thing. I have to make myself a new firewall out of something. Was going to do it out of that one right there, but I forgot I cut it up for a patch panel. So anyway, I'm going to drag the body into the shop right now and start working on getting all of that hammered back to where it's fairly straight. I'm not going to bore you with watching me do that, but I'll get it to that point and then we'll come back and show you what we've got. We're worth of beating on it with some less than fine body hammers. Let's see some of my tools there, using that sledgehammer and this ball peen hammer and pliers, even my anvil for different things. But I've got the bulk of the big folds and caved in things out of it, and now I'm going to be working on, straightening out the little creases and stuff more. I think what I'm actually going to start doing, got myself some tubing, and this line along here, this body was built with a wooden frame. I'm going to replace it. I've got a bunch of square tubing down there that I salvaged from some other project, and I'm going to start the process of fastening it through these little holes here to that tubing, probably with some sheet metal screws. And this body line along here pretty much should be straight. And so if I can start by clamping my tubing starting here, you can see this is already almost straight. When I get to this point with that clamped in place, that'll let me knock that dent out right there and re-straighten this part. And then all the rest of this along here is going to be straight, so I can get that tubing tied from back there, that corner, all the way up to this corner. And that will give me something solid to start building this body off of. You can see, there you go. We'll do the same thing here. Ultimately, I will get some tubing down where the doors used to come in here. I'm going to build this thing with some welded in doors because it's going to be a roadster. I believe that along this back edge, probably from say here-ish over to there, should all be a straight line. So I think I'm going to start by clamping that and tying it into a piece of tubing too. And I've got more straight lines. There'll be one going along here, something coming up to there. So that'll let me start getting the thing tied in, and then as I do that, it'll allow me to stiffen things up so I can take more of these dents out of here and get myself straight. Now, I'm not shooting for perfection on this thing because it's going to be a rat rod, but I do want to have good, solid, pretty straight sheet metal, and so I am going to work pretty hard on it, but it's not going to have to be perfect when it's all said and done. But that's going to be the general plan of attack here, and I'll show you parts and pieces of that as I move through it. So there you go. Got it roughed out. Now we start beginning the finessing process, and that's going to take some time. Here we go. Another hour of work here. Got me with those two bars that I talked about in place on this side. And what that has allowed me to do, can't see it very good here, but is establish a good solid line along here. And again, it's not going to show up well in here, but it's allowed me to get this wheel well part here all straightened out and flat. And I've got almost all of the, dents and creases out of it. I got a little bit of a spot right here, but part of that's because I'm got a rust through right there. And I'm not going to fix that. That's going to be part of the patina on the thing. But that's really got me straightened up here. Now I can work down this side to where I can, figure out what I'm going to do along this top edge here too. And that will, between a straight solid bottom edge and then getting this top straight and solid, that will allow me to work that whole body panel in there and start tying things together. So next up is going to be working down that other side, and it's actually quite a bit rougher than the first one, but completely doable. There's nothing overly difficult here. Just start out with my hammer and dolly, and I'll work out the little dings along here, and then I'll start working along this edge. And I've got some, yeah, you can see it there. I've got a little dent there and some creases going down this way, so let me get those straightened out here. I've got a high spot going along there, so I'll work those out with the hammer and the dolly. Not too bad along in here until I come to this spot right here. I'll have to straighten that out, which will allow me to get this flattened out and get it to where I can fold these flanges over and get them to hold straight. I've got a tear here. I'll probably weld that up after I get the bars in, but I'll be working along here just to be pulling this back, pushing that in. This corner here is pretty mangled, so I have to really ding around to get that pulled out. But actually, the other corner was nearly that bad, and I got it to straighten out fairly good. So that's going to be the next plan of attack here, and we'll keep moving along there and show you the progress. Alrighty then, here we are. So I've got my second side done here. It worked out pretty good there. There was a lot more damage along this side. Had a really good crease where that whole thing was rolled over the top there. And a really bad crumpled spot here in the corner, but I've got 99% of that gone. A little tiny bit of work to do there. Had a big tear here. Decided to go ahead and weld it. I got a little bit of more welding to do on that one, and then I had several little rips right in here, so I decided to touch those up. But now I'm kind of at the same spot I was on the other. I've got this fairly good. This, I've got a little more work to do on it, but it's pretty good in there. So that worked out really good. Then I moved around here to the back, and first initially started to try to just put a straight piece of tubing in there, and it just wasn't looking right. So what I did is I took this piece of tubing and I laid it up on another piece sitting on the floor. So one end was an inch off the ground. Then I laid myself a 2x4 here in the middle and smacked on top of that 2x4. Then I came out here, there's another hole here and another hole right down there. And I just took another good smack out there on each side and ended up flipping it around so that the other end was up an inch. But I got myself a good inch worth of crown going in there to get a little bit of curvature in the back. And I like the way that laid out much better. It's allowed me, well, in order to make that fit, I had to do a bunch of hammering and dollying to get this where it needed to be. But in that process, it's still not perfect. But I've got a lot of this big area down in here much better than it was. With this in there to stiffen it, now I've got a big low spot there, got a little one there, some high spots here that probably are stretched. But I can get in there now and have something stable to work against, and that's going to help me quite a lot. So anyway, that's where I'm at right at this point. Probably another couple hours in it at this point. I haven't really put a lot of thought into where I'm going to go next, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to flip it over and probably start working on the top edges of it, I think. So I'll go along here on both sides and get that in, then I'll figure out what I got to do to get myself a back piece. So I get the top kind of stabilized, and then that will let me know where to go from there. So probably next time you see it, it's going to be upside down. I'm guessing I'll have one of the sides on or ready to go. So that's where I'm moving to. From that crumpled up piece of sheet metal that I started with, it's actually come along. I'm quite happy with it. I did not expect it to work out quite this well. So anyway, that's what we're doing right now. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. I'll be back after the next segment. Starting point for the next part of the process here. So I've got it upside or right side up now, clamped to the table here at the front. It's still flopping around back in the back, but I clamped these two straight bars on there just to get a feel for what that was going to look like. And looks like it's going to be all right, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some curvature in these two. I think it'll look more realistic rather than just have a straight slab-sided thing there. And it'll kind of match. If you look along that wheel well, there is a curvature there along the top of it. And so I want to get something similar to that back here. And so I'll take those bars off and beat that curvature into them as before I actually get ready to start fastening them in. So anyway, I like it. It's come a long way since just being that crumpled pile of sheet metal that we started with. But it's getting to where I can live with it for the purposes that I'm building it. So, all right, we'll get pressing forward here and see what we can accomplish. Back up there. Put that bar in, got both bars bent to where they match each other for the other side. I'm getting ready to put that one on. So when I put this in, it's actually going to sit out here something like this. It's right now wanting to relax back into there, but the final place will be somewhere in that neighborhood. But this side actually straightened out pretty good. Now it's definitely not bodywork ready because I don't want to do that, but it's for what I've got to do here for my rat rod thing. I really think it's going to turn out pretty good. But I've got, you can see a slight shadow right in there. I've got a little bit of a crease in this belt line right there. And right in here, there's a bit of a shallow spot. But now with that stiffened up, I'll be able to pull those out and get them to work. So next piece of the process is going to be come around here, duplicate on that on this side, which you now can't see because it's dark over here. But got a lot of creases and wrinkles I got to get out of here. And so that's going to be where we're going next from here. And then I'll get that screwed in place like I did the other one. One of the reasons that I did what I did here, I don't really want to start doing a bunch of welding on this thing, partly because it's old raunchy metal and it's not super solid, but I just put this set of screws along here every 1.5 inches, and it did two things. It really sucked the sheet metal up good to this and made sure that I had all my dents and stuff. I had to get this pretty straight to start with, and I got it to where it was pretty decent, but there was still a little bit of stretching that had been done to that metal and things, and I had to get that taken out. So that line of screws is kind of be a theme throughout the car, but it's going to help make this body work. So anyway, that's where we're at right now, and we'll flip around and get to the other side and show you how that looks. So I will be back. Just wanted to throw in a little short segment here. How banged up this body side was in there, because we'll get it where you won't be able to see that. Now it won't be perfect, but the rust will hide everything that we're doing to hammer it out. But anyway, we can make this work. This is what's fun about what I like doing here, is taking something like this that was really a total piece of trash and make it into something usable. So yeah, just for fun, that's what it looks like. now. And remember, this is after I've already taken that, which was folded clear over there, and these other big creases here. But we'll get most of that out and to where you won't be able to really see it. So stay tuned as we carry on the process. Actually, I just thought of one other little thing I want to throw in here. This is a trick. So most people are going to look at this thing and go, oh my gosh, I'll never get that there. But the trick to doing this is don't look at the whole thing and get overwhelmed by it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this little crease right here, and I'll get that straightened out, and that won't be super hard to do that, but I'll get that straightened out. Then I'll probably come up here and work on this one right here and get it where I want it. Then I'll come in, see I got a one that goes along here like this, so I'll do that one, and that's just it. And as you do this one little section at a time, then it doesn't get overwhelming with what you're doing. And see, my best part of the panel is right here. And so if I start here and start doing these little pieces that connect to that, by the time I get over here and get this done, then I'm going to have this entire chunk of the panel to where it looks pretty good. And then it'll be, oh, okay, so I can move on to the next one. Then I can step in here and start working on that one. And as you work your way through there, pretty soon you're finding yourself and you're clear over in here and you're going, oh, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I can get the rest of this done. So that's just a mental trick to doing this rather than getting overwhelmed by it. And again, so we're not going for paint quality body work here, but again, I do want it to look decent in even the rusty condition that's in it. I don't want it to look like trash. And I'm going far enough on this body work that you could actually grind it all off and totally fix the rust spots and body work and finish bondoing it, painting and stuff like that. It would work. I just don't want to do that. And so I'm going to focus on getting this to where it looks presentable in rat rod form. And that's where you can take this old completely trashed piece of junk that you found out in the desert and make it into something that you enjoy and that quite frankly you'll get a lot of compliments on. So there you go, just a little tidbit of mindset information there. Okay, here's a little demo of what I was just talking about. As you look down here, see how all this now looks pretty decent. I mean, I've still got work to do on it, but it's kind of looking pretty good. It's not looking as bad as it was before. And that's because I'm working at it just a little piece at a time. I did this crease right here, and then there was a little one, or one across here and one down here, and I've got them tapped out. And then I took care of that one there, which was a little harder, but I got it. It's where I want it to be right now. Again, I'm going to have to do a little more work here. I'm kind of actually rolled under right here on this crease line more than I should be, so I'm going to have to bring that back out. But just wanted to show you that, and that's how it works a piece at a time. Now, if you look at the rest of the thing, it still looks overwhelming as you do it, but that's the nature of how to go about approaching this. I don't know if you can see it as well from in there. Yeah, you can. So you can see here, I still got a little bit of work to do right there. I can see this better actually from in here than I could from the outside. So I'll come in and get those straightened back up, and then we can be working on that down there, and pretty soon we'll have worked ourselves all the way through the panel and it will look pretty decent. So anyway, just illustrate that point that I was telling you about there. So here we are. At this point, I've probably got about an hour and a half into this side as compared to the other one, but my creases and wrinkles are pretty much gone. I still got a big low spot right in this area, but as I pull the top back out, that's going to put some tension on it so that I can make that pop out a little bit, and then it will make that go away. So I am really, really happy with this. No, you guys can't see it super well. Well, there you go. With that light on it, you can see a few of the ripples and things in there. But man, it is so much better than it was. And by getting some stiffening on it behind it now, then I can work those out and I'll be happy with it. So now we're going to get ready to put our green brace in there, and we'll show you after we get to that point. Okay, here we have it. That side is done along the top rail there where I want it, and I'm actually quite happy with this side. There'll be more that we'll get in there and work on, but for right now we're going to move around here and get this back edge taken care of. So it actually has not been super bad. You know, we had a pretty bad crease across there. That corner's quite mangled, but the basic shape of the whole thing has been kept in fairly good condition. Got a pretty good dent there. It's actually coming out this way now that we're gonna have to work on. But now my next goal is to get myself the reinforcing brace across the back of it. And so that's what we'll be working on next. So we'll start out by straightening things out and then get our brace in there like we've got the two sides, and then we'll come back and work on the corners. Okay, I've got this all straightened out along here on the back, and it's actually turned out quite well. Better than I even expected, really. So I'm ready to put this reinforcement in here. You can see down there I've bent it to kind of create a curvature along there. I would say match a curvature, but I have no idea what this used to be, so I'm kind of going with what I think it kind of wants to be. And so here's one of the things I'm running into. This, because of the angle that this tin is bent at and worked around, it's not sitting flat. So if my bar is not sitting flat here, it's tipped up. And I've got everything else to where they're sitting flat or nearly flat. I'm getting there. The one on the bottom was rolled up like this, so I took a big crescent wrench and rolled it down. And what that's going to do is give me welding and mounting surfaces, so I don't have to cut funny angles when I put pieces together in here. But what's happening because of that, so you can see here, I got a center mark here, got that set on it. As I run over here, it's not staying exactly level all the way along. And then you can see it gets emphasized over here. And I believe that that is because of the leaning back that's in this thing. I really believe that this cut along here is pretty much flat. So what I'm going to attempt to do, and I may completely screw this up, but I'm going to start over here, keeping myself flat, put several screws in, then I'm going to take that crescent wrench and try to roll that to where my reinforcement piece is flat in there. And I think as I keep doing that, what that's going to do is pull this down to where it comes out about where I want it there. And I've kind of experimented with it here a little bit, and I believe that's probably what's going to happen. In fact, as I'm looking at it here, I may not start at the end. I may start back in this area, because I think if I keep the middle kind of there, that I can get most of it that way. Anyway, I'm going to experiment there, but it's time to start drilling, put screws in, and we'll see how that comes out. All right, that worked out pretty good. It's not perfect. You see I'm still a little bit high on each of these ends, and I'm actually just a touch low right in the middle. But I've got it in there now where I can round out the corners and get the welding done on it. And as you can see, I was able to get it flat across there. I put all the screws in it, and it was still tipped up, so then I took my big crescent wrench, put it on that reinforcement, and rolled it over. So I've created a slight feature line on the back panel right here that wasn't there before, but you can't see it, and that's all right with me. It actually stiffens the thing up a lot too. So what we've accomplished now, we've got all three sides of it roughed in pretty dang good, and a lot of places are actually as good as I'm going to make them. I'll go back and touch up a few of the places now. Yeah, I'll probably kind of want, I think it'd be fun to leave some bullet holes, but this one comes out, and so the jagged metal will snag anything that brushes up against it. So I'm going to hammer that one in flat. But I've got this a lot of the way to where I wanted to get it. And so now we get to start the process of tying those corners together. Got to get in here. I'll end up tying these two bars together here and get them lined up so that they're straight back there. As you can see now, they go in there, and then that back one dives off, and this one's actually going the other direction. But I'll get those line or set in there and get them straight. Then we will start. Let's see. No, I'm not going to do the corners back there yet because I still don't know the width of what my cowl is going to be up here. And if I tack those corners together, then I won't be able to move the sides in and out to tie that up. So I'm not sure. I could go down here, but I don't think I'm ready to do that yet either. So I think my next step is to get the cowl in here, and gonna have to figure out a little better fancy frame jig here, something bigger that I can set this stuff on and be able to mock that cowl up and then start fixing it, and then figuring out how to get it tied together with what I do have here. So that's going to be my next step in the project. Okay, part 2. Here's the cowl that we're going to start working with. As you can see, we've got a real jewel to start with here. But this top side here is in pretty decent shape. That's the particular part I'm after. I figured I can make sides if I have to, but this side's not too bad, except for this area right in here. Also, if you'll notice on the other side, there is at the bottom, there's supposed to be a roll here, and it's all gone completely on this side. That side's nearly gone, so I'm going to eliminate that body feature and just bring this down here and roll it under, because I got to make patch panels for that anyway. So I just have straight sides, and it'll actually match the rest of the body better. What I'm planning on here is I'm going to cut right along here and get rid of this reinforcement rib and just remove the entire firewall out of there because it's so totally trash. There's nothing even worth trying to save there. So I'm going to do that. I've got another piece of metal out back that's actually the floor out of this project. I think I can probably cut myself some, replacement parts here to build a new cowl with, or a new firewall. So that's where I'm going to go. Then we'll get into replacing this stuff here and building the new bottom corners to get them where we want. So the first part of the project is going to be to cut this off. Then I'll get some templates made up and go cut that other piece and get the edges folded over on it. And then we'll see where we're at that point. Ta-da! There we go. All right. This looks much less trashy with all of that rust gone out of there. So this is my next step. I've got myself a piece of cardboard here, and I am going to draw a template. And as you can see, this thing has been bent, and so I'm pretty sure that this side is pretty much where we want it to be. So what I'm going to do is draw this template and then reverse it and make a duplicate or flip it over so I can use this side as my good dimension here. And then I will take that and get a piece of metal that I'm going to cut it out of. So anyway, I'll get that drawn out. Got to give me some reference points and think this through here. I see I've got a seam right down the middle of the cowl here. That's probably the center point. I'll take some measurements to verify that. But then that'll give me a place where I can flip this over and get a mirror image of it. So anyway, that's where I'm going next. I'll show you when I get my pattern drawn. Here I've got my templates. Yeah, so I drew this side and actually flipped it over and found out it's not quite matching up to that side, but I'll use this as my main template side, but this will just let me get the piece of metal roughly the right size. So the other thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to add a little bit for a lip all the way around there so I can fold that over so I have some way to fasten it to the cowl. And then I'm also going to make a seam right here because I'm going to come straight down my firewall and the footboard is going to slant back into the cab a little bit. So there'll be a seam here. So again, I'm going to add a strip along the bottom of there so I can fold it out so that I can spot weld the seam together along there. So this is my bottom half. It's not going to be this long, but I don't know how long it will be. I'll use that after I get this one in place. But I've got both those template pieces. Now I go out to my scrap metal pile and see if I can find something that will work for this. Okay, this is the only piece of metal I've got that has a piece big enough to do that with. So that's what we're going to do. This is the floor out of that 54. And the nice thing about it, it's not hyper rusty. It was just kind of bent up a little bit. So my first inclination was to lay this thing right in the middle back there like that. But then I realized that the rustiest parts of this floor are over there. It's less rusty on this side, so I decided I would pull this over there and center it along this set of ribs right there. Now that's going to mean I've got to repair some stuff here, and I'm okay with that. But it's going to do that. I'm going to use this ridge as the fold over point for my lip that I've got to put on the bottom, where it ties into the toe board below the pedals. So that's basically where it'll sit right there. So I've got to add my lip around the edges of it. But that's where I'm going to start out here. So I'm going to get that traced onto here and get my grinder out and cut it out. And that'll be the next thing that you see. Okay, kids, here's my brand spanking new handy dandy Firewall, formerly a floor pan. Yeah, it's got a couple of issues, but it'll work for what we're trying to do. So I've got my flanges folded over there. I decided rather than bending this flange the other direction, I'm going to keep it folded under here, and then I'll come along and weld my floor into that. So I like that. It's got some dents and imperfections in it, but it'll match the rest of the body and look like it was meant to be that way. So that's where we're at the moment. Now I will have to figure out how to fasten it in there. I think I'm going to try to weld it. So I'll have to do some grinding and prep work on it as well as the cowl itself. So we will come back when we start getting that process in place. Backed into place. So I ground off, you can see here, ground off my surfaces there and also on the inside of this piece so I could get some good contact. But for right now, we just got it tack welded all the way around there. Now we'll start back through and fill in the gaps and have that all tacked into place. I don't know, I may come in and weld also a spot or two in from behind just to add more rigidity to it. And yeah, so that's where we're at now. I will come back as I start into the next piece of the process. Here we are, all welded up. And I just got to grind it off, but I'm going to hold off and do that later. So I did go through, you can see the marks where I welded from the back side on each of those tabs ever so often. But that's got me a usable Firewall now. I'll have to do a patch right in there. And I don't know about the other holes, we'll just have to see on those. But now we're going to be trying to figure out how to replace that rusted out section on the bottom and up the front there. That'll be our next project here. And the only trick is going to be getting the length right from down there up to where that top bar right there is going to come into the cowl. So you want to get that length right so that everything works out good. And I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. So we will play around with some stuff here and see what we come up with. I'll let you know what I figure out. Okay, we've got her mocked up in place there now. I think that is about where I want to have the thing sit. You might go, well, that looks like a really tacky little door, and it's like, yeah, I know, but I don't care. This is the spacing that we're going to use here, and if you notice, my bottom green bar down there comes just within a few inches of the front, which is going to work out pretty good too. So now I'm going to build some extensions to go, so I'll cut off that rusty part on the bottom and build an extension to go down and around the green bar, so I can screw it in from the bottom like I've been doing the others. And after that, then we will work on patching up this piece here, and around on this side it'll be a much more involved repair because it's a much more damaged piece. But I'll get this straightened out in through here, then we'll get our bottom section put in there, and then probably run a vertical patch up through there to take care of that too. So that is the direction I'm going to head with this. And at that point, then I can start getting my framework all squared up and tie the cowl, the bottoms of the cowl, into the green frame there. Then we'll be able to come back in here and figure out how we're going to tie the top of the cowl in, and how we're going to then build our artificial door section here. But anyway, yep, that's how it's working out. Pretty good. So we'll be back here in just a little bit. Panel tacked in place. On myself another piece of rusty metal down there to cut this stuff out of. It should give me enough to patch up all this area here. Got this tied together. I think we're working out pretty good. So I'll finish this up, and then I'm going to get some screws put in the bottom of it into that pipe so that I've got that tied together. I'll come down here and get my next piece built in here, so I'm going to come over and have a wraparound right there. Probably tie it into here and come down here and tie it down there to replace that rusted piece, but then that'll get me my edge strengthened up there. And then the next step's going to be to tie the sidebars into the cowl right there. And that'll have me tied together good on this side. Then I can move around to that other side and start fixing it. I'll tell you a little something I'm learning here. I've done this stitch welding process, or whatever you want to hear, many times. And one of the things that I'm finding, I used to make a tack about every inch to inch and a half, and then go back, put one in between each one of them, and come back and fill it in. What I'm finding works better for me, maybe not for everybody else, but I'll put a tack in here, another 1 inch apart, and then instead of putting my next one in between those two, I'll start right there and put the next tack, and then the next tack, and the next tack right next to the other one, so that I'm tying them all together as I go along. And I just am getting better results with that. And I think I'm getting less warpage, and just seems to work out better. So just a little thought that I'll share there. Maybe other people will get better results some other way, but this is something I'm going to start changing on what I do. Just working out better. Alrighty, here we go. Now we have a new tab corner, cowl corner, whatever you want to call it. Those two pieces in there. This allowed me to use that bend over there to form a lip here, so I've got a stiffener going down. It's because I don't have any shrinking or stretching tools or anything. I've cut grooves in here ever so often. That's allowed me to bend that just slightly, because there's really not much of a curve here. I just need a tiny bit, but that's got me to where my curve's right. I'm tied together down here at the bottom, welded into the firewall right there, so that's got me super stiffened up. Now I just got to go through and finish the welding process on these little welds, but I'm really happy with the way that one turned out. I'm going to get this done, then I get to move on to the other side, which is going to be a little more involved, but it's all right. I think we're going to make it here. So this should work out good. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. All right, now let's dive into this side. This can look completely overwhelming with what we've got to work with here. But that's why we've got to do just like we did in straighten that quarter panel. We're going to dive into this one piece at a time, and I'll show you how we're going to work this out. So the first thing I'm going to do, just like I did on the other side, I'm going to cut along this body line right here, right on that side of it, and get rid of that. And at the same time, I'll get rid of this roll on the bottom here because I don't want that. And then before I get back with the next video, I'm also going to straighten out this crease here. There's another one that looks like it goes down through this area. I'll get them knocked out, get that one kind of straightened out, and that'll get me back into a position then where I can do what I did on the other side. So I'll come in here and put this piece in and then build myself a big patch to go up there. So that's where I'm going to go. We'll get to that point and show you when I get my bottom chunk set in place there and ready to go. Tackling this one step at a time, that gets it where we want it now, and we don't have to keep fighting the battle of being overwhelmed with it. Let's see if I can get back here and get some better shots of it. All right, so got those creases cut out of it along in that area, and that took care of a lot of it. Then cut the bottom off, cut the front edge off of it, and put that patch panel in there. And now I have it tack welded around to this point because that's all of that metal I'm going to save. From there I'm going to be coming up here to replace this rusted out spot here. So that's going to be my next project, is to build that chunk of the patch panel and then get them tacked in together there. So when I get back here, it's going to look like a whole new side because I'll have that tacked onto it. So that's where we're going to go. That's how you tackle these really difficult looking things like that, is you quit thinking about the whole thing all at one time. I've tried to make that point all the way through this video. Just take one little piece at a time. And when you do that, that allows you to eliminate one piece, and then the next piece doesn't look so hard. So one thing that I did get here, you might be wondering, well, how did I establish where this needs to go? Well, I have a measurement from the bottom of this reveal here that I took on the other side, and I built the whole other side to match that. So that measurement goes from here down to the bottom edge of the bend here. So I've got that matched up both front and back, and that's got that bottom piece level. Now I know where my line has got to be coming down the firewall here, and so I'll put, cut my new piece and put that curve in there and tie these pieces together, and then we'll be in business. And as you see, I didn't have to fix everything in there as far as dents and stuff. I don't need to fix this because I'm going to cut it off. But that got me to that point. So I'll get this next piece cut and tacked in place, and then you'll see what we're doing. That I had over on the other side, and it's got, I don't know, 80 of my problem taken care of there. Got them tied into the green rail on the bottom with some clamps. I made this piece long enough to come up past my cutoff point here, and so I could tie into the cowl itself. So I got that done. Cut a series of relief cuts down there so I could get that curvature in there that I wanted. And as I've gotten these, so I've got relief cuts along the bottom of this one too, so that it can curve over that way. So anyway, that's got me. I was really shocked how well that took care of the problem right there. I actually got back in here and I just cut up here and cut out a big chunk of that rusty metal that was in the way so that I could fit this better. And that solved 99% of my problem right there. I've got a little bit of dent work that I've got to get out here to get this panel to come out here flush. Got a little bit of a crease across here. But that's what I'm going to do next, and that will actually allow me then to just do the cut and butt thing going down here, where I take my grinder and cut in along there and stitch those two together. And I think I was kind of worried that right here it had some metal that was a little bit too thin, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave it. I thought I was gonna have to cut a bigger patch out here. So I get that tacked in place all the way down here. I'll have to fill that miscut there a little bit, but then that's gonna let me to just get back here and basically put myself a triangle shaped piece up across there to replace that chunk. And we'll have this thing back in shape. It's actually working out better than I thought it would, so that's why I'm kind of excited here. So anyway, there you go. I'll be back as I get that stitched in, bodywork done, stitched in, and then probably won't show you until I actually get ready to put my other replacement piece in there. But anyway, that's how you just start piecing these things together and get yourself a repair done. I am really happy with that. It's replacing those and just a little bit of hammer work down in there got me to where I really got that curvature right there. So it turned out great. There's what we're going to look like when we're done. Get back here far enough. Yeah, so I just got to finish putting all those welds in there, and we'll have that all set. So yeah, really happy about that. Now got to think about what's got to happen next, so I'll come back as I get a little farther along in the process. There she is. I think we're going to wrap up this episode right here. Got a little long, I think, on getting all of this straightened out to this point, but man, that is so much better than where we started. I'm just excited about our results, especially excited about the way this cowl's turning out. Those patch panels in there, a new firewall, everything across there is looking good. Let's see if we can get here, we get a straight on shot of it. So there's what we've got. We got our curvatures looking good, all of that. Yeah, we got a whole bunch more grinding to do to clean it up now, but I'm not going to include that here in this video. So here's our, let's see, this driver's side patch panel. So it's basically the same as the other one, just had to add that section up there because my rust was much worse on this side. But man, it worked out great. And using flat chunks of steel here, we're able to build the curvatures into them to make it work there. So it's all looking good. We've got our framework all set up in here now. It's where we're all flat and level and working well. So the next episode, what we'll do is we'll come in here and flesh out some of this framework. I think the first thing I'm going to do is start by tying the corners together after I've squared all this up here. And then we'll build off of that. We'll come in here and get these and figure out what kind of replacement panel to put in there and move forward from that point. So there we go. It's turned out really well. I'm really pleased with it. It has been one of these very major projects for me. It's always fun to take something that's just dilapidated and trashed and basically scrap metal and turn it into something that you think you can use. So we'll be back on another episode as we move forward and tie this thing closer together, get ourselves a single piece body there. All right, Eldon signing off here from Crazy Dad's Garage. You guys have a fun day. We'll see you again shortly.